Hi, I'm Ernie with Supreme Diesel. This young lady here is Kelsie Epp, aka MissMaxx. She just ran in the Diesel Power Challenge, and we wanted to go online and answer a few questions for people. We keep getting hammered with all kinds of questions for her on social media, so we thought, well, we'll do a video series and a little interview and answer all the questions together. So I've got some questions for Kelsie, and we'll see how it goes. So what made you decide to throw your hat into the ring for the Diesel Power Challenge? How long have you wanted to do this, and what made you to take the steps to do it?
4 or 5 years ago, I started watching Diesel Power Challenge, and I really fell in love with the idea of like the ultimate diesel truck. And basically that truck that you could pull your fifth wheel to the racetrack, go race it, and then tow that same fifth wheel back home. Or, you know, it's kind of personal preference. Lots of people like their cars that they can just trailer to the races, but I think it's cool that you could have a truck that would pull that race car home at the end of the day.
So you've got lots of racing experience already?
Yeah, I've been racing for 7 years now. I raced a stock Duramax truck for quite a long time. It was still 586 horsepower, but it's enough, and I still have that truck. But we decided to step it up to the next level. 2 years ago, I decided, you know what, I want to do it. Let's go for it. Let's buy a truck. Let's go into the Diesel Power Challenge, or try to get in anyway.
So tell me a little more about this truck, the build. You've obviously thought about this truck for a long time, because you came to me with all your ideas and stuff, and you said, I want to build this truck. So tell me about the build of your truck.
So
the turbo setup, for instance, you knew you wanted a triple turbo Duramax. So what made you decide you wanted that triple turbo?
So watching Diesel Power Challenge, I honestly set up the truck and wanted the exact setup for that challenge. So literally everything that I could, I took into account. I mean, the elevation in Denver is, just about 6,000 feet above sea level. That plays a whole bunch of havoc with your turbocharging. You have to be mapped out right, that with the smaller turbos, so that they're not, starving for air and taking forever to spool up. So I definitely knew that I wanted the triple turbo setup. From there, say for like the obstacle course, I knew I wanted the big brakes to be able to, stop in that little stop box and still carry some speed through the course. The transmission, I knew I wanted a no-zone transmission, because they're tried and true, and he has put a lot of abuse on those kind of transmissions, and I knew that was what was perfect for my build.
I think Dimitri's put more than abuse on transmissions. I've seen some of his engines just scatter. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So the engine of choice?
So the engine of choice, I went with your suggestion on this, DFC diesel out of Edmonton, Alberta. He totally jumped in and was like, okay, let's do this. And yeah, he helped out a ton and knows so much that I know that this build was perfectly made for what we wanted to do with it.
So tell me about your injection system.
I have ATS dual fueler feeding the Supermental Dynamite diesel injectors, and I guess just a fast lift pump ahead of those.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, what kind of challenges did you face with this whole truck build, trying to get everything to work together, putting it all together?
So when I first bought this truck, it was supposed to be mostly built, so I would just have to do, minor adjustments to how I wanted it for the challenge. And we ended up having to completely rebuild it. Like, Supreme Diesel did it from top to bottom. The wiring was such a mess. Actually, Dimitri ended up changing the whole wiring harness because we had just electrical issues. We had issues with...
Oh, everything.
Everything?
Everything. It was, before we got the truck, yeah, it was really quite the hack job. But, we made a silk purse out of a sow's ear. It's pretty amazing.
It looks incredible now. I can't thank you guys enough for making an incredible truck, really. It was perfect.
So Rob, of course, did the tuning. Tell me about your relationship with Rob and Idaho Rob and Adrenaline Truck Performance.
So Rob's, honestly, since I first started with using EFI Live tuning, 6-7 years ago, Rob was the first person I ever went to. He was the pioneer back in those days. It had just came out, and he was really the only one that was doing it. And I mean, he still to this day has obviously the most experience with it, has seen more than anyone else has seen. And yeah, he really came on board with this and helped us out with the tuning and got it nailed down. And I think that was pretty obvious. The tuning was pretty on point.
So, funny thing about Rob, when we were down at the Diesel Power Challenge, I was texting Rob. He's asking about the tunes, and I'm texting back and forth with Rob. And then my wife is texting, so I texted, "I can't stop thinking about you," and I hit send. And then 5 minutes later, my wife doesn't respond. I'm like, well, how come she's not responding? So I look, and I actually texted it to Rob. I'm like, oh no, my face turned right red. So I texted back, "Rob, sorry, I thought you were my wife." And he texted me back right away saying, "I love you too, laugh out loud." That was, everybody got a real big laugh out of that one.
I'm pretty sure you could hear us laughing on the live feed. We're laughing so hard.
So Rob, yes, I really was texting my wife. I don't think about you that much, just so you know. So going back into your truck again, this truck build, like how many sleepless nights did you have with this whole build? Like you were a major part of this build. You were there pulling wrenches every single day that we were working on this truck. Your time off, you'd be working night shift, coming to the shop during the day and dragging your ass around, but pulling wrenches in there, just getting your knuckles busted up. You know, how many sleepless nights did you have just planning this whole thing out in your head?
I think the sleepless nights came after we actually, knew we were going, and we still had so many little details to finish with the truck. And really that whole month before, I was not at home. Pretty sure my boyfriend forgot who I was, or maybe had a standby, I don't know. But yeah, I was not at home. I was at the shop or I was at work, one or the other. And on the days that I wasn't working, I was staying at my mom's house because it's way closer to the shop than our house. So I was just there as much as I could be, and I just wanted to see everything that was happening and have my fingers in there as much as I could.
Mm-hmm. So the truck is all put together, ready to go. Tell me, what was it like traveling 50-some hundred miles with two guys, Matt and myself? Tell us about that trip.
You know what? We had so many good laughs, and I'd never really got to know Matt too much before this, and now I feel like we're really good friends. And there was, countless jokes and laughs. And on the way down, Matt's driving, and we're like somewhere in the middle of Wyoming, still probably 4 hours from Denver, and all of a sudden, Ernie's like, "What's that sound?" And Matt's like, "Oh, it's just the pavement, don't worry about it." And I'm kind of half asleep in the back seat, and 5 minutes later, ka-thunk. And Ernie's like, "Oh, there's the dually," as it's passing us.
Our wheels are passing us in the ditch. I'm like, oh great, we sheared off all 8 studs on the rear duals. Matt managed to keep it on the road. It was a little squirrely, but there was a fellow that was traveling behind us in a diesel truck, and he pulls over with us. And he goes, "Wow, that was some amazing driving." And our hearts are just pounding because we didn't know if it was going to stay on the road or not, but we managed to keep it on the road. So then we had to rob Peter to pay Paul. We pulled off some studs and lug nuts off the other existing wheels and pulled the hub apart, pounded them into that hub, and got us back on the road between one good wheel that we had left and a spare, and got ourselves down to Denver. It was quite the adventure, that's for sure. What about the passing of gas?
Oh my God.
Traveling that distance with two dudes, you must have known sooner or later one of us was going to fart.
Oh yeah. It happened quite a few times, and there was a whole bunch of giggles. No one would ever fess up to it at the start until they started giggling. Then you know what was happening, that someone shit their pants.
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, yeah. And Matt, he would just sit there and he'd have this little shit-eating grin on his face, and I'd just look at him, and then right away I knew, oh, you shit your pants. And
He's like, "I think I smell something."
Yeah. So first day of the event, tell me about your feelings the excitement that you felt? Were you nervous? What you thought when you met all the other competitors, seeing their trucks? What was your whole sense of feeling with that whole event around the first day?
You know what? I was amazed at the quality of workmanship. These trucks were unreal. I mean, I still felt like we had a truck that was there to compete, but every single truck there was so damn impressive. It was even the trucks that finished lower. Nathan Stacy's truck, for example, they just put the motor in that the day before they left, and that truck lived through the whole competition. There was not a leak on it. That boy's only 20 years old. When he gets some driving experience like the rest of us, he's going to be untouchable. You guys watch out for that LBZ.
Or LBZ, whatever country you're from. So, the crew. You chose Dimitri Miller, Matt Adams, and myself. Why did you choose us? What was your motivation, other than we're just a bunch of handsome guys?
Ernie, every day you inspire me to be a better person, honestly. My family does not understand any of this passion that I have. They just don't get it, and you're honestly the only one that really, really, truly, has the heart for it like I do. And I'm gonna start crying, and you and Kim have just taken me in as your family, and we're just family all the time. We spend all of our time together now, and it's absolutely incredible. I would not be able to do any of this without you guys. If it wasn't for Supreme Diesel and DFC Diesel, that truck would still be sitting in my backyard with a broken crank, like it was just a year ago, and me being like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. Obviously, I got such bad luck that it's not gonna happen. This truck's just gonna sit here, and $30,000 is just gone. But Ernie was there with the trailer, and he's like, nope, we're taking it apart. We're gonna see what's wrong. We're gonna fix it. And that's what we did.
Awesome.
So Matt was kind of I was like, well, do you think Matt would be a good one to bring with us? And of course, he's Ernie's best friend, so he's like, of course he is. He's friggin' brilliant, which I totally know now. He's a total nerd and so smart. Rolls my eyes in the back of the head sometimes when he starts talking, because he's so far ahead of my knowledge. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yep, you're right, Matt. I know.
Yeah.
And Dimitri, I mean, he has been such a huge supporter of me for so long. He has the passion for it, like me. We have such deep passion, and he might be a total shit disturber, but it's all because he has a heart of gold, honestly.
Yeah.
The biggest heart ever, and he cares, and he wants things to be fair, and he wants the industry to grow. He's, my diesel brother.
Yeah, he's kind of like a brother. I was going into ATS, and I'm walking in first, and Kelsie and Dimitri's behind it. Kelsie starts screaming at me, Ernie, Ernie. I look around, and Dimitri's holding Kelsie, trying to fart on her, just like a brother would do to a sister. It was quite hilarious. She got away. He didn't get to fart on her. She got away.
But every time we're standing there, and all of a sudden he'd be like, oh, I shit my pants, and everyone would scatter.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Gross.
Hey, yeah, we'd have a team meeting, and he'd just look at us, hey guys, I just shit my pants. I'm like, oh, for freak's sakes. So off we'd go, and he'd try and follow us. I'm like, no, you don't follow us. You're dragging along with you. Just stay over there. It was a lot of fun. We came together as a team really, really well, and it was exciting to see the dynamics of our team even come together. Even the whole dynamics of the Diesel Power Challenge. Everybody involved came together as an awesome team. This is amazing. It was KJ had mentioned that it'll be like a family, and
Dysfunctional family.
It was a dysfunctional family, but altogether, yeah, it was a family. It was a great bunch of guys. So after the dyno, tell me about what happened. Your truck started misfiring on one cylinder. Tell us about that. I know we had to fill up with pump fuel with no additives and stuff, and after that we started having a problem with a misfire. Tell us about that.
So that morning we all had to group drive to the fuel station, and the fuel station had all the pumps closed except for the big truck pumps. So everyone lined up at the big truck pumps, and I was like, well, let's just go across the road to this other station and fuel up. Like, it's not a big deal. They know we fueled up anyway. And that was the wrong decision.
Bad choice.
I mean, how much bad luck could you ever imagine? We know that American diesel fuel's given us grief before, but I mean, we did not even think it was going to be to this level.
Yeah, so right away we started having, right after the dyno, we started having a misfire. I mean, the injector was hanging up, but we got it to clear up and start firing on all 8 again, and yeah, it was quite the challenge for the whole thing.
You can hear it on the video as soon as we made that third pull, it was stuck open and joining rail pressure. We should have probably put a better number up on the dyno, but just wasn't meant to be. And so I pulled off, and everyone's like, as that injector is just hammering away.
So are you allowed to post online what our number was on the dyno?
Yeah, it was 1,014 and 18 torque.
That's corrected or uncorrected?
That's uncorrected number, so the corrected number is 1,254 horse with, I think it was just over 2,100 foot-pounds, or maybe a little more, but yeah.
Yeah, that was consistent with what we did at the Gauntlet Challenge down there with that truck. So after the dyno, the mile per gallon test, tell us about that. That was a little different than what we expected, but.
So there was a whole bunch of drama that surrounded the whole dyno event, and finally we got into the fuel economy, and it was like a video game. It was really weird. I'd never seen anything like it before. So you're driving on the dyno, and you have to keep your truck in this line and with where this arrow is, like with speed and braking and all this stuff that stimulates on-road driving. So anyway, we get on there, and we had a tune for fuel economy, but it didn't quite have the power that we realized afterwards that we're gonna need. So we had to turn it up to the street tune, which was quite a bit smokier. But we got on there, and I left it in park when they started the test. And he kind of said like, oh, it'll just test at first, as in like I would get like a couple seconds to figure out what was going on. But they took all those into account, and then the injector was still sticking every time we got up to, 20 pounds of boost or whatever. It was, and scared the crap out of me. So anyway, I ended up with like 6 red arrows at the end of it, which ultimately lost me that. I ended up with 3rd place, and we should have been in 1st if I didn't have any of the red arrows. So that was a little bit irritating, but I mean, that's Diesel Power Challenge, that's what happens.
So the next event was the obstacle course. Tell us how you prepared for that obstacle course, and share with the crew how much grass I actually have left in my backyard after all your practicing.
So Ernie has this beautiful shooting range in the backyard, and I set up my cones and pulled a trailer around there, I think just about 2 days worth. That I spent a couple hours each day. Never really had the right length of trailer, but I used a couple different ones, and I think ultimately it did end up helping. Then a couple days before we ended up leaving for Denver, this wonderful man named Shane Wood brought a trailer about the same size and a Bobcat, and helped me set up this whole course on pavement in Grand Prairie. And we spent a couple hours just practicing there, and it turned out really good. So when I actually did the challenge, nerves still got to me. I knew it was gonna happen because honestly, it was the one I was dreading the most, just because there's so much stereotypes around women that can't drive or can't back up a trailer, right? And I just felt like I didn't wanna let anyone down. So there was tons of nerves. I would wake up in the morning and my heart was just pounding because I was thinking about that challenge. So anyway, I finished, and I didn't knock it down any cones, so I was, I did the best I could.
You did. I think you did really good. You were called up first before anybody else. I would imagine that was a little more unnerving than watching everybody else go first and knew what you had to chase, but you had to set the bar for everybody. So that was, I would imagine it would have been a little more stress on you, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's cameras all in your face and your truck everywhere, and you're like, I'm not gonna show that I'm freaking out right now, and I'm just gonna do it.
So, the 8th mile trailer tow. One thing I've learned about Dimitri is Dimitri is addicted to nitrous. Everything needs more spray, need more spray. So I had set up like a homemade progressive nitrous system with Kelsie's truck, and just a single stage based on 50 pounds of boost on a Hobbs switch and a full throttle switch. And he's like, well, what else do we have? And I said, well, we got a purge solenoid. I brought the lines and everything, and if we needed a little extra kick in the pants, we'll just rig up this purge solenoid as another nitrous shot. And he goes, yep, well, let's do that. So we did that. And so down to her left, lower left, that's where the button is for the purge. So you launch, pulling this 10,000 pound trailer, and you start flying down the track. You are drifting a little bit towards the wall, driving with one hand, holding the nitrous with the other hand. Can you tell me why you just kept that button held and still steering with one hand, and you can see you're drifting towards the wall, and you've got no counter steer. You can't even steer back out because you're for some reason you were obviously had enough weight off their front tires, they weren't responding.
Yeah, this is kind of Dimitri in my ear. You just hold on to that button and you don't let go of it. and I was honestly afraid that if I did let go, that it would come down on the chargers, and I was just praying for a 10-second pass, like please, 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 and I looked up and it still wasn't, because I was just spinning all over the place. It was wild. Honestly, that was the most fun, just because it was so wild. And I mean, how many times do you get to just go down a dragster pulling an 11,000 pound trailer? It was pretty epic. I loved it.
She says it's fun, but me, I'm watching her do this, and I'm standing at the sidelines watching her go. My arse is puckered and my heart is pounding. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh, please don't crash, because I thought that was crazy. And you can see her holding the nitrous and steering with one hand, and she's just flying. But I think I was a little more stressed out than she was at that point. But at the end of the track, again, you had an injector, it was hanging open. Mm-hmm. And so you'd hit the throttle a couple times, and the injector started firing around 8 again. We had, at this time, already put in a lot of different additives and stuff to try and get that injector to clean up, but the damage was done already, obviously. It was too late. Sorry, Lenny. You built an amazing, amazing product, and we just trashed it on you, sorry. But anyways, so the next event after that was drag racing. Tell us about that. How'd that go down?
You know what? I wasn't as worried as all these guys were about that injector, because they kept telling me, oh, you're going to be full throttle and it's going to clear up. And yeah, at this point, this is when I finally found out that everyone had been given another run with the trailer. And I watched one guy, go and put a placing on me. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to go do it again. But then another guy fell back, and they only took the second pass if they made it. So they had to take that time, and he fell back behind me. So I was like, okay. And they were really pushing us to get into the drag race because it was going to rain. So it was like a 5-second, okay, we're just going to drag race. And Charlie's up beside me, and I'm thinking, okay, this, if any truck, is the one to beat on the strip. So this is going down right now. So I hurry up to get all my gear on, because we had to put all our belts on and put in the, the roll cage bar, and get everything set up for drag racing, and pull up in the line beside Charlie. And, that turbo system is so perfect for that elevation. It just spooled up right now. Charlie couldn't even get lit at all in the time that I did. And his turbos are, one of them smaller than mine. But it was just perfect setup for my truck. So I launched off the line, probably 22 pounds of boost, and that thing spun 4 tires for all 60 feet, and it was still way ahead of Charlie. I thought I had it beat for sure, but just over half track, it stopped pulling on him, and he, just came up right beside me, and I hit that nitrous button, and it didn't do anything. And I just, coasted down the rest of the track, and, still ran 11.3, but I was not happy because he passed me. And then there was white smoke all over. We pulled around the backside of the return road, and Charlie stopped, and he's like, there's smoke. And I'm like, oh shit. So I pull off all my gear again and pop my hood and grab my fire extinguisher under my seat and rip it right off the floor. And we look under my hood, and there's no fire, thank God, but there was a whole pile of oil everywhere. It's smoking, and it was bad.
So-
But the truck was still running okay, so I was like, I still had hope that maybe, you know, it just overpressured something. Then Ernie and Matt came around the corner to save the day and really, you know, told me it was done.
Yeah, number 7 injector is the one that kept sticking on us because of the fuel, and it wound up taking out number 7 cylinder. So when we pulled off the oil cap, it actually blew the oil cap. That's why it was oil all over the place, and oil was everywhere. So there's an awful lot of blow by. So Matt and I knew right away, okay, number 7 is done. So we get you back into the pits, and tell us what choice was made after that. To stay into the game, or do we load it up on a trailer and go home?
You know, the first little while, I think everyone just thought we were done. I thought we were done. I was crying. I was emotional. I just, you know, blown up the last 2 years of every penny I ever had. And we parked as far away as we could from like all the camera guys and all the eyes of everyone, like a mile down the pits. And the freaking camera crew heard that I was crying, so they're like, "Oh, we need to go get this on camera." And they still came freaking running all the way up to my truck to get this on camera. And at that point, I didn't know what to say. I was just numb and really upset. And then, you know, we all started to think about it, and I knew the truck would still run because it was running nice when I shut it down. So we all just made a group decision that we were gonna go, you know, break the beams, go down the track, just slow. Did like a 40-second pass because it was just smoking white so bad. But still, you know, made it look like we finished that event. We loaded it up on the trailer, went and washed it, put in some heavier weight oil. We shut off that one injector into the 7-cylinder.
The rail.
And then we were like, okay, we're going sled pulling.
On 7 cylinders. That was a pretty good choice. I like that. So, because of all the blow-by, and what we did is we taped up the oil cap and the dipstick tube, so there's no place for any crankcase pressure to really vent other than through the catch can, which created enough pressure within that engine. It actually split a turbo drain line. So now we've got oil and stuff all over the place too, by the way. And we're gonna go sled pulling. So tell us about that. That was where you really shined. I was totally amazed with that.
So we get into the truck and we're warming it up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna see if the turbos are gonna spool. And I try to spool the turbos, and there's no spool happening at all. So Ernie gets in there and he's like, what's going on? And we're standing out there, and me and Matt just get showered with oil out of the stack. And we're like, uh-oh. And then we're like,
I think it was pressuring up so much through the turbo drain lines that it was actually pressuring up the cartridges of the turbochargers and pushing oil out through the intake system and everything out to the cartridges, and it just hence going out the stacks. It was a mess. It was a complete mess. But Kelsie, being the trooper that she is, she's like, nah, we're gonna sled pull this thing. We're gonna run it till the very end. So elaborate on that a little bit more for us.
well, I kind of let them make that decision when they said, if you want to do it, do it. I was still at the point where I thought that maybe we weren't even going to be able to go at all. So I said, okay, well, I'll just go, just move the sled just so that we get, you know, the points for doing it, and not a do not start or anything. So I back up to the sled and try to spool up, no boost whatsoever. And so I just start to move, or first I told the guys, take these fire extinguishers because you might need them.
Yeah.
Because there was a big chance that oil could start a huge fire if I warmed up that truck too much. So tried to spool up, nothing. Started moving the sled, you know, about 100 feet out. I was like, I wonder. And I just tapped the nitrous button.
Oh.
That turbo came alive, and it was like, holy shit. So then I tapped it again and held it, and that truck was moving. It was going, and we were at just about 200 feet, and something in the driveline snapped and stopped it. But it had momentum. It was going to win that sled pull on 7 cylinders and nitrous, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So Matt and I are running beside her truck with a fire extinguisher, where each one of us had a fire extinguisher just waiting to put out a fire, but there was no fire. The sled, on the other hand, was completely covered in engine oil. It was pretty amazing. The sled operator was pretty humorous about it too. He was like, "Oh no, that's okay, guys, it's okay." The American flag was full of oil. Sorry, guys.
I offered him a Canadian one, and he wasn't too happy about that.
Yeah. So the event's all over. We don't know yet where you placed. We won't know until the August edition of Diesel Power Magazine. Everybody needs to pick that up and see how everybody did throughout that whole event. If you got anything to say to any of the other competitors, what would you say?
I would say you guys are amazing. You are my new diesel family, and every one of your builds is incredible, and I hope you go kick some more ass in the diesel industry and just keep on going. Don't ever give up just because something's broke. We all got to just keep fixing and moving on. And there's a couple more things I want to say. I want to thank Russ. He was like I called him about the sled pulling because we didn't have a ton of sled pulling experience on our team, so I really wanted to ask someone that had lots of experience with a Duramax sled pulling. So, he was on the phone with me me and Dimitri for half an hour, and we were just making our whole strategy of how we're going to do that, even though we were on 7 cylinders. Diesel Garage for taking amazing pictures of my truck that we've been able to post everywhere. Everyone that voted for me, all my family, I can't thank you guys enough. I'm so glad that you guys picked me to represent you and, put all your faith in me and spent that $8 on that magazine to make sure that I got in. I am so grateful and I appreciate it so much. And you know what, my boyfriend for, letting me be away from home so much, working on this truck, paying the mortgage so that I could put every penny into the race truck. And yeah, I would not be here if it wasn't for all these wonderful people and companies that have stepped up to help me. ATS, what an incredible facility. I am so grateful, and incredible products. My ATS co-pilot is amazing. That truck lights up in every gear. Also, the ATS dual fueler is an incredible product as well. Integra Tire.
Integra Tire, yes.
Okay, so Integra Tire Grand Prairie, they stepped up, and when they found out that we weren't getting sponsored tires for this Diesel Power Challenge, they were like, okay, we'll get you some tires. And yeah, those tires worked really well, and I would actually use them again. And yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. So, keep watching. We're going to be doing another interview. The next interview coming up is going to be Brad Ekstrom with Fast Fuel Systems. We're going to start picking his brain a little bit. And then Don Schumacher, the owner of Flow Pro Exhaust, pick his brain a little bit and keep doing more and more interviews as time goes by. But thank you for listening to us, and enjoy your day. Keep it out of your bum.
What?